Hey everybody, this is Modern Refugee. I want to have a little conversation with you guys about self-reliance. And this goes back to my recent experience being in the hospital. Now, it happened unexpectedly. I was put on an ambulance. I was taken miles upon miles away from my home, my community, my friends, my family, what you would call your mag. And taken right out of that situation, put into another situation. And when I was there and I was admitted, I basically had a change of clothes. I had the plastic bag that they put my change of clothes in. They told me, don't take your wallet or anything like that, or your ID, or your cards, or cash, or anything like that, because it's a bad neighborhood. Don't take any of that stuff. Leave that with your wife. So I had my clothes, change of clothes, the clothes that I had on my back in a plastic bag. Had my phone, had my charger, my charging cord, headphones, these couple things right here in my pocket. That's what I had. And that is a lot less than what most people would consider having in a SHTF situation. But this for me was an SHTF situation, but that's what I had. That was the cards that I was dealt. And the first 2 days, I was really sick. It was really bad. And then when the meds started kicking in and I started kind of coming around a little bit, I kind of knew what a bad situation that I was in. If something happened, what was I going to do in this situation? So I took that opportunity to try to better my situation than what I was in. And the first thing, after talking and discussing all my medical stuff with the doctors and the staff and stuff, is I oriented myself. I knew where I was at, but I didn't know where I was at. I knew I was in XYZ hospital, but in the grand scheme of things, I wasn't quite sure where that was at, and I wasn't quite sure where everything was on the floor that I was at. So the first thing I did is I went out and found where the exits and stuff were on my floor, pushing my little IV cart around. Found out, where the exits were, where the elevators were, where the auxiliary elevators were, that they moved the patients and stuff in. Found out where I was in location, all that stuff. So I knew. I asked the staff what their, emergency procedures were if there was a power outage or a storm. So I knew if something happened like that, I knew kind of what to expect. And then once I kind of figured out where I was on the floor, I oriented myself to the hospital I was in, where I was at, where the major highways were, where the crossroads were. How would I egress myself out of there? Could I have walked those, miles home in the condition that I was in? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe I wouldn't have made it. But I wanted to know how to get out of there on foot if I had to, if it boiled right down to it. And the next thing that I did was I got out and I started exploring the hospital. I found out, where security was, where the storerooms were, where the cafeteria was, um, where the pharmacy was located. I found where the motor pool was. I found where the employee entrance was. I found the entrance that the doctors used to get in and out of the hospital. Found out where the food court, the gift shop was. Found out where all these potential resources were in that situation if it got down to it. And after I did my exploration of all the floors, I took a little bit of time every day to go and walk around and find the floors. I looked out at the highways. I kind of figured, where the traffic was, where northbound was, where southbound was. I kind of made mental notes of where when the busy times of day were and when they weren't. And when they started giving me a little bit of liquid diet, whatever you want to call it, they'd come in and they'd ask me, what do you want on this list? And I said, you know what, just bring me everything. And they would bring me everything. Of course, I couldn't. eat everything or drink everything that was on there, but that always gave me a little bit of extra, a couple of tea bags, a couple, containers of apple juice, a can of soda pop. I put all that stuff up in my little cupboard. Put it up in my little cupboard beside my clothes because I figured if something happened and I had to get out of there, I was going to take that foodstuffs, whatever that I found, I was going to put it in that plastic hospital bag that I had, and I was going to move to a safer location, wherever that location was. And the other thing that I had that was a real blessing was a blanket. I had a blanket so I could cover up and stay warm, whether I was sitting in a chair or I was laying down or whatever. And that blanket, I came home with me. I got that blanket with me here. And that blanket, to me, was the most valuable thing, other than maybe my shoes, that I had. And because it was basically shelter, even in the situation that I was in. So even though I was hard pressed to it, I was alone. I was completely out of my element. I was away from my family, my friends, what most people would call their mag. I was away from all that. So people talk about the lone wolf thing. Lone wolf preppers. Sometimes you might be put in a lone wolf situation that's beyond your control, like mine was, and you're going to have to figure that out. So I was, put to the hard horn of the world, sick, not functioning 100%, but I was still trying to do my best to better my situation and make my situation better for what it was. And kind of cuts against the grain of all the other prepper videos that you see, where you got to have your stockpiles and you got to have your compounds and you got to have your mags and your dozens and dozens of people and you got to have your communities and all that. Sometimes life will take you out of those situations and will put you in a situation where the only place that you're going to find your survival is right inside here. You're going to have to figure it out. I know that's kind of a blase way of putting it, but you're going to have to pull yourself together and you're going to have to figure a way forward, because if you don't do it, no one else will. Anyway, this Modern Refugee just wanted to share this experience with you guys. Hope you get something out of this and something to think about if you're ever put into a situation that I was put into. Appreciate all you guys out there. You guys take care.